All right, good afternoon, traders. Thanks for joining today's guest speaker webinar. Right off the bat, let's do a quick test of audio and visual. So if you can hear my voice and see this opening slide, please type a yes in the chat for me. Awesome. Welcome in, Julius, Zach. Thanks for coming, guys. Alvin. Be sure to use either that chat box or the Q&A box to ask questions throughout the webinar, and Will do his best to answer them by the end of the presentation. As always, my name is Keith here with Shark Indicators. We've been involved in the NinjaTrader ecosystem since 2011, providing tools like Bloodhound and Blackbird that help traders be more productive and in control of their own trade systems. We're always looking for ways to add to the trader's toolkit, and this webinar is a part of that mission. Before I pass it off, let's take a quick look at the risk disclosure. Futures, foreign currency, and options trading contain substantial risk and is not for every investor. And of course, past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Will Busby is the founder of Pure Financial Academy, a seasoned software developer and the educational director behind the platform. Since 2009, he has dedicated his career to advancing and refining supply and demand trading principles in the financial markets. With a deep passion for both technology and education, Will leads the PFA community by example, offering a dynamic, interactive environment where active traders and investors can grow, connect, and thrive. His commitment to innovation and clarity continues to shape the way modern market participants approach technical analysis and strategy execution. So, Will, with that, I'll pass it off to you and we can get started.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Keith. I really appreciate that kind introduction. Let me go ahead and get my screen shared here so we can get the ball rolling. And okay, there we go. All right, folks. So hopefully you have the the PowerPoint up there. And I just want to start by saying thank you all. Number one, to Shark Indicators. As always, it's such a pleasure, to work with these guys. They're incredible. And I want to say thank you to all of you for your, attendance and participation. Always appreciate it. And hopefully we will make it, very worth your while today. I think Zach and I have something, I believe to be pretty fun set up for today. And so here it is. I'm I'm going to have to go through and give you the boring part, right? So I'm going to get through that as quickly as possible. I know that we don't want to sit here and stare at a PowerPoint. No worries, folks. Like I said, Zach and I have put together a little something today that we're going to actually go out and spend the majority of the time on the actual real-time charts today, putting this into action. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to give an intro here. What in the world are we even talking about first and foremost? And once we get through that, then we'll actually, as I said, go out onto the live charts with the help of the amazing Zach over there and yeah, have some fun together, okay?
Oh, what would a webinar be without PowerPoints? So
Amen. I think it's like a requirement, you kind of have to do it just so that you can say you did, right?
that's right. Otherwise, you're not official. Yeah,
You're not official. Yeah,
yeah.
awesome. Right on, guys. So let's get started with it. I'll move as promptly as possible, I promise. We're going to get started with the PFA Invest Suite. Let's just start with the naming convention there, and I guess what would be considered the obvious, but that keyword there, invest. Our goal here is quite simple. We want to take and ultimately change the thought process. Okay, so we always talk about trading. Everyone, we talk about trading. We trade every day. It's all of that good fun stuff. But the key thing that we're forgetting about is, and not to talk about actual money and everything like that, but we forget about our investment portfolios. Okay, so whether we're talking about 401ks, whether we're talking about general position, a little bit of a long, it doesn't have to be years. We're not talking about that. Okay. It can be, I suppose, but investing is just a whole different ball game. And I think the longer I've done this, which has been quite a long time, couple decades, been doing this. And, I have known back then what I know now, right? We can all probably say that. But investing, in my opinion, is at the absolute top of my priority list. So that's why I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. Collectively with Shark Indicators, I believe by the end of this, you're going to see such a robust solution. And hopefully this is going to get you all just a quarter increment of the excitement as I have for it. Okay. So without further ado, PFA Invest Suite for Ninja Trader 8. All right. It is an investment technical analysis, and we try to make it as simple as possible. The disclaimer, of course, we've already gone over that. You know, Keith was kind enough to do that. Just making the obvious notes here, but this is, of course, for educational purposes only. Trading, as we all know, contains substantial risks, obviously investing being the same. And I always make note that I'm not a licensed professional, so we want to keep everything in the presentation hypothetical, okay? All right, folks, here we go. Let's go ahead and get through the disclaimer there. So what is the PFA Invest Suite? It's a comprehensive technical analysis toolkit, which is tailored, of course, for Ninja Trader 8. It consolidates essential investment data resources into a single integrated package. I'm going to go ahead and excuse me. I'm going to preface the rest of this with an apology, because I don't want to move so fast that you're kind of like, hey, I don't understand what this tool is. So here it is. I'm going to preface it with this. Remember that we're going to get out and we're actually going to put this into action. You're going to see it on the live charts. So when we're talking about the tool, you'll be able to go back and review this recording if you have specific questions. We're also going to be doing a follow-up event. I'll talk more on that in a moment. But I want you to be excited. I don't want you to feel bored. So let me get through this. And if I talk really fast, don't worry. It's not 10 cups of coffee speaking. I'm just trying to get you to the fun. All right. So we've talked about what the Invest Suite is. Let's keep going forward here. It monitors historical and real-time evolving corrections and extensions. If you have all or any turned on CNBC in the last forever, you have just extensively heard, you know, market correction. In fact, I just heard it a moment ago. They were talking about year-to-date calculations, all of these things. But I don't want to have to listen to the news to have this information. I need it just like Wall Street has it, and I need it in real time. All right. So these are some of the things that we're going to be getting. It automatically calculates position sizing. This to me is of the utmost importance. And as we get through it, you'll understand more so what I mean by position sizing, but that is absolutely critical. Displays significant price levels directly on your chart. So that's the extensions, corrections, other price levels, and very important details, which we'll get to throughout this. Delivers essential market metrics in a customizable info box. And the suite offers simplicity and clarity, making it suitable for both beginner and seasoned traders and investors without unnecessary complexities. All right, so why this matters to traders and investors. Understanding position sizing and market corrections are fundamental to investing effectively. Markets naturally move up and down, creating corrections that provide context. Again, folks, I mean, this is the perfect time to be talking about this, because if we all think about what the markets have been doing recently, we have made historical moves, which is just absolutely incredible. I equate, you know, there was one day recently, I could almost equate that to the flash crash, and it happened in a stable market. I mean, it's amazing, in my opinion, right? So knowing the exact size of the corrections helps inform trading and investing decisions. Proper position sizing is absolutely essential for consistent risk management. Having all the information in one place, of course, saves time, and it reduces a lot of confusion, especially for myself, right? So my mind can only handle so much. I need to kind of dumb it down so that even I can understand it. The Invest Suite presents the information visually, giving you a complete picture without complex calculations. Let's talk about the core analysis and the capabilities here. The heart of the Invest Suite is its constant tracking, evolving tracking of ongoing price movements and corrections. It automatically identifies highest price points and calculates pullbacks, extension in both percentage as well as point terms. A lot of people want to know the raw numbers. How much have we rallied today? Well, I can tell you literally sitting here, we rallied 56.5%. Excuse me, no, 56.5 points, my bad, which equates to 0.96%. So we're literally almost up an entire percentage again today. It's crazy. But anyway, all that being said, we'll get to that a little bit later. Okay, so let's look at the visual information system. It presents critical information through that customizable box we previously discussed and is directly on your chart. It shows multiple track correction percentages, daily changes, and position sizing calculations. It can be positioned. You can move it around your chart. Let's just simplify it. You can move it around your chart wherever you want. Maybe I like it, in the bottom right, bottom left. I'm all about real estate on my chart. And so I like to have customizable options dependent upon, how I like to view the charts. And in doing so, you can choose between horizontal or vertical layouts. Again, it's just customizable. It's about, look, at the end of the day, I want the information, but I don't want it to skew what I'm, actually looking at as well. Okay, so it's fully customizable appearance. That goes, pretty much everything you can think of, all from colors so everything you're going to see on the charts, just know that you can do color changes, font changes, font colors, you name it, and we built all of that basic stuff in there. It ensures important data is always available at a glance without switching between indicators. I do not want to do that. Everything you'll probably ever hear me talk about, it should probably end with the word efficiency. So to me, efficiency is critical because no matter if I'm trading, day trading, or if I'm long-term investing, it's so very important for me not to have to bounce around to all these different places. I need it right there, then and there. And to me, that's, again, very, very important. So having that at my fingertips, again, I like it. Okay, so within the information box, you'll find key metrics organized in an easy to read format. These are very straightforward. Current low, where is the current low trading? In this example here, at the time this was created, we have a current low value. Current low is basically whatever bar, today's bar, if you're looking at a daily, I'm on a minute, to this minute and so on. So anything with the word current in front of it, that's going to have to do with today, either the current bar or literal current price. We have lowest low and a lot of things in that box there. So the current correction percentages from multiple reference points, daily and year-to-date market changes. Again, we can look at that on my charts. I'll do that later as we get to that. It's in real time. So I think having those metrics is pretty interesting. Notional value is something that a lot of people don't talk about, in my opinion, enough. Notional value is so very important. And I've found that a lot of times when I say it, people don't even really know what I'm talking about. So if you have any questions outside of the products alone regarding just information, I'm always more than happy to put the effort in to make sure you get well educated in that. But notional value, again, very important, especially when we're talking about the futures markets. Position sizing. Again, I've already mentioned how important this is to me, but look, at the end of the day, here's what position sizing is. I can connect to a hypothetical account, or I can connect this to my live account. It will spit out the values of how many contracts I can trade. And I can also increase or decrease that if I want to put some, if I want to go above or beyond, I can do that manually and override it. But ultimately, I can do this based on ratio values of the market. So it's going to do all these computations for me. It accounts for the notional value. It will take all of that into account when determining, okay, well, today, like I can tell you based on the hypothetical account size that you'll see on my charts later, I can tell you right now I can trade a lot size of 4 contracts with an add-on value of 3 contracts. And if I wanted to add an additional, I can only do 1. So it's letting me know that in advance before I ever even consider setting up a trade or an investment, if you will. Okay, so trade exposure calculations. This is going to give you, once I input my values and how I want to invest, I need my account size, obviously. I need all these numbers. But then it's going to tell me, okay, look, well, this is how many you're trading. This is how much you're exposed into the market. So based on me right now trading those 4 contracts, I'm looking at my own chart here. I can tell you that I would have an exposure of $118,450, right? So again, having those key metrics, very important. This one I love, pertaining to predominantly the futures markets, but of course, this goes into anything, right? We just want to be very mindful of margin calls. I hope and pray that none of you have ever received one. It's not a good phone call, right? But if you're not aware of what a margin call is, let's talk about that later, and I'll educate you on that as well. I'm pretty sure we're all aware of what it is, though. But here's the thing. What if I knew where that was going to come in advance, right? So now I can protect myself against that ever happening. I can set a stop value. I could, close positions. I can react in any way that I need to to ensure that that never occurs. So that's going to be inclusive here. We do have that margin call, and it will indeed account for not only the tradable lot size, but the add-ons and so on. It'll compute all of it. See all the information updates in real time as the market moves, giving you the continuous awareness without manual recalculations. Okay, again, keyword efficiency, right? Just kind of expanding on that data box there. Let's move forward. Here's a visual price level system. So I just wanted to give you a chart image, but since you're going to see it on the chart here momentarily, let's just kind of go, relatively fast through this. The Invest Suite creates a dynamic visual framework on your chart. I would like for you to remember that word dynamic because Zach and I have had a lot of fun with this one. And so this software takes it to a whole different level. There are things within it that are dynamic and they'll auto update. Whereas a lot of times when you go into software, you're going to deal with a lot of static values. And that means ultimately they stay the same, right? So these are not static. Everything is going to be dynamic, including our naming conventions, things to that extent. And yeah, so we always need that. Why? Well, because the market is always dynamic. It's always moving, always evolving, and therefore we believe we should too. Horizontal lines at key correction levels. Here I've specified, 5, 10, 20%, etc. But what's lovely about this, and again, keyword dynamic, is there's no limitation here. We can put in any values we want. If you're a fib trader, you may love the value 23.6, 38.2, excuse me, whatever the value is, you can dynamically input that. And Zach will probably, we'll have a little bit of time to show you that as we get to it. But just understand, we can put 1, none, 20 on there if we wanted to. I would probably not encourage that, but it is capable of it. Clear labels showing both percentage and actual price values. Again, some people want to just stay focused on the percentages. Some people want to know the literal, point value. So we do have all of that included. We have an optional vertical line marking where the highest high occurred. So whatever the highest high is, and understand the highest high can be whatever we want it to be. So it can be the literal highest high, ongoing tracking. We can set it to specified price values to track from that. I'll talk about why that's important a little bit later, but it really goes into, where am I entering the market? Like if I wanted to take a trade right now, I could enter and set my base price to said level or price value and compute all of these percentages from that level if I desired that. Okay. All right, so the system provides immediate reference points for potential support or resistance areas, creating a complete, I was about to say complex, goodness gracious, not complex, and complete visual context for understanding market corrections. And there's the image. Like I said, you're about to see this anyway, so let's skip ahead. Position sizing made simple. I've already addressed this a little bit. I'll just move through it quickly. Managing appropriate position sizing is crucial for consistent trading and investing. The PFA Invest Suite includes powerful tools that automatically calculate trade sizes based on your account value and risk parameters. This is important. You can use, as I mentioned a moment ago, a hypothetical and or a fixed account value. So I could spit in there and say, look, I just want to start with 100,000 hypothetically. Okay, got it. Or I could say, no, connect to my actual account and see what the literal value is. Okay. So you can do all of that, and it's going to respect your maximum and minimum position size limits. So let's say okay, Will, you can trade 4 contracts right now. Okay, but I don't want to. For whatever reason, I want to trade 3. Got it. So it will respect that. We do have the minimum and maximums, the inputs there. So of course, if I say I only want to trade 3, it's only going to calculate accordingly. All right, so flexible sizing approaches. I hate to do this, but I'm just going to skip this for now. Today, we're going to focus on the ratio value because I think it's the most applicable and I think it'll make the most sense. What the ratio ultimately is doing is it's just going to account for current price of the market at all times. So if the market's moving up, the ratio will change. If the market's moving down, the ratio will change. And again, remaining dynamic in the market. So it offers several approaches, these threshold, ratio, and we also have some inclusions on top of both of those. But let's save that. It goes a little bit more into depth. And I think it's a little bit, just honestly, it's a little bit too complex to get into right now in the very basics of this. So let's go ahead and skip ahead on that. Customization, we've already talked about. Here's what I'll sum this up with, folks. At the end of the day, I already mentioned everything is customizable. I think it kind of goes without saying. We all have different, themes. Like, for example, some of us may use a dark color, some a light color, in between. It doesn't matter. It's all customizable, and you can not only customize those, visual features, but you can also do things, as I mentioned a moment ago, about selecting a highest price to track, right? You may not want to track based on the high. You can track based on the close, the open, or even a custom value. All right. Choose which correction levels to display, both historical and real time. Again, very customizable, colors, lines, etc. Configure the position sizing, which we mentioned. We can input a value if I want to override that. Okay. We can save the settings as templates. Now, this is not rocket science here. I mean, at the end of the day, we can all do that with ultimately any indicator. And so we really leverage the benefit there of NinjaTrader's template system, so that we can just go in, we've made all the changes we want, just save it as a template and be done with it. Okay. All right. So it's simple to implement. If you get the PFA Invest suite, it is very straightforward. It installs directly to NinjaTrader via our custom installer. You just simply double click that. You can add it to the charts like any native indicator. And you begin with the preset configurations, which we will provide you. It'll come, defaulted right out of the box. Make all the changes you want. You are going to have ample amounts of support. That is a top priority for us, and I know that it is for Shark Indicators as well. So we are collectively always here to support you in anything that you need, okay? So you can adjust the settings at your accord with our support if desired. Save your settings as we mentioned, okay? And then the learning process is intuitive with immediate visual feedback. Plus, as I mentioned, I'm very happy to support you. So real world applications, you can see how it brings clarity. Correction levels clearly show the extent of market pullbacks and extensions. Information box provides the immediate metrics without the clutter. Position size and calculations are going to help maintain that risk exposure. All the elements work together to give a comprehensive market view. And this consolidated information supports more informed trading and investing decisions. Again, a visual. Let's go ahead and skip ahead of that so we can get out to Zach here. And as I said, I'm jealous here because, Zach gets to have all the fun today and I get to bore you. So don't hold that against me. How about that? Okay. So the benefits here to your trading and investing, folks, it transforms complex analysis into clear visual information. Simply put, right? Saves time by consolidating multiple functions into a single tool, reducing Clark clutter. I don't know if you guys are aware of that word, but never heard it myself. So all joking aside, the chart, folks, we don't want it to be cluttered. As I mentioned, I like the real estate of my chart. I want it to be clean and clear. Provides those reference points for decision making, promotes disciplined risk management through the position sizing, enhances your trading process with valuable market context. And let me step back real quick before I go into that. Let me put this in simple terms. So like I said, even I can understand this, right? I like to think of it in a way that, to sum it up, says, I want the information that Wall Street has, right? We should all have the information. I mean, it's 2025 for Pete's sake. So I want that information, but I want it in real time. I need it. I use it every day, quite literally every day. And so I think it's important not to have to go elsewhere to get that. All right. And then I'll just touch on this. It's time to get started with the fun. But I do want to go ahead and notate, we are going to have a live training event. And, kind of hint here, it's possible that I have been able to talk the king of fun over here into joining me during that time. So we may have a lot of follow-up fun with this as well. There's some things we might not be able to get to today as far as timing, just ongoing stuff, back testing, a lot of different, whatever. But I may have been able to kind of talk him into it. We'll see how that goes. No pressure, Zach. No pressure.
Depends if I can get up that early. I'm on the other side of the country. No, just kidding.
I'm pressing him here. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's going to be at 10 a.m. as you can see there, folks.
Yep.
So I feel for you, man. I really do. Everyone on the West Coast, trust me, I used to be there and I would wake up at like 4 and 5 to get started. It was absolutely ridiculous. But I guess we got to do what we got to do. And the
Yeah.
markets they don't wait for anyone, do they?
The early bird gets the worm, so we'll be there
Ah,
early.
there it is. I told you Zach's the fun one, right? He's going to come in with the fun comments and everything. I love it. Awesome, guys and gals. So look, we have the live training event tomorrow. If you are on our newsletter, you'll get an event for that. And I'll share as Zach is going through this. I'll share a few links with you. We're going to be doing this via YouTube live stream. I hate to torture you, but I will have my webcam going, so you'll get to see these silly facial remarks and all that good fun stuff. I hope I don't break your screens, but we'll kind of go through that. And one more slide, but I'll hold off on that one, I suppose. But of course, the infamous promo that I will be more than happy to provide. And I'll just go ahead and show the slide and we'll come back to it. But of course, we couldn't do this without offering a promo, especially being here with Shark Indicators, because we just want to make sure that everyone has the best of the best. And without further ado, I am so sorry if I bored you at all. I know it was a lot of information to get through. Let's take it and now simplify it and actually see it in action. Zach, my friend, I'm going to turn it over to you and I will
All
step into
right.
your commentating.
My turn. There we go.
And
All
I'm
right.
waiting to stop
Well,
sharing. Can you guys confirm maybe in the chat, are you still seeing my presentation or are you seeing Zach's?
they should be seeing the chart now. They should be seeing my chart.
Okay,
So,
let's see, folks. No chart yet. Okay, there we go. Yep, there it is.
okay. Yep. Now it says everybody can see me. Okay. Great. Well, all right, guys. Yeah. So basically, I get to show you the software in combination with Bloodhound and Blackbird, right? So correct me if I'm wrong here, Will. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but basically, this is kind of a tool to create an investment strategy for yourself, right? And and so how do you know what's appropriate for you, right? Except to generate some entry signals, plug those into a strategy and then back test it, right? So you can get those back test results, right? And that's what I'm going to do for you right now with Bloodhound and Blackbird. So to give you a little preface here, the signals I'm going to create in Bloodhound is when the market pulls back, right, and crosses below the 5%, right? So this is the 0%. You can see it's following, right, the market higher. So the next level down, that's the 5%. Next level down is 10%. And then the red line is our margin call, right? So these are the default percentages here. And then above that, right, those are our targets, right? So that's the 5% target and the 10% target, right? So I'm just going to take these defaults and generate some entry signals. So when the market pulls back to 10% and it needs to cross below, and then when it crosses back up, right? So I'm going to generate a conservative entry signal, and I'm going to wait for the market, right? Here's a better example, right? I'm going to wait for the market to not cross down, but I'm going to wait for the market to cross up, right? So I'm not going to get in too early because we never know how far down it's going to go, right? So I'm going to generate a signal when it crosses back up, and hopefully, right, the market's back to its uptrend, right? So I'm going to do that for the 5% and another one for the 10% here. And I think, yeah, let me slide this over because this is a good example of that signal right there.
Yeah, and I love what Zach's saying here too, because there's pros and cons to everything, as we all know. But a benefit of that, hypothetically, let's say we have a crashing market, okay, flash crash or, heaven forbid, but let's say the market is crashing for all intents and purposes. there are major benefits to using the crossover effect, as he just mentioned, because if the market is crashing, I don't want to enter perhaps in the midst of that crash. I want to let the market just absolutely crash so that I don't have to take part in it. And then by the interim, or it rather in the interim, just hang out, right? So we don't have to take part in all of the downside. And then as it's crossing, back up, then we're able to, get involved in a stable market.
All right, so here we go. So I'm loading in the Invest Suite here, and you can see, right, there's all of those different levels that you're seeing on the chart there, right? So, so if you have customized levels on the chart, then when you're plugging the indicator into Bloodhound, right, you need to have those exact same custom, correction levels there, right? And then the other one that's important here is to show the correction levels historical, right? Since we're going to do some, historical testing there, we need to make sure that that historical setting there is enabled, right? So that's it. Just make sure you get your correction, any custom correction levels, that you want to be working with, get those in there, and then enable the show correction level historical there. And then the next step is, move this up, is finding the plot. So let's scroll down. Now, the one thing that's unique here is these plots are dynamic. So this level, right, this 5% and this 10%, 20%, this will dynamically change as you change your levels up here in the indicator here, right? So, and we'll circle back around to this. So that's very critical because this is probably something that you have never worked with before here. So, so we'll come back to this. So I'm generating the 5% pullback signal there. So we'll select that. And so here we go. So we can see, right? So we have a short signal when it crosses down, and there's that long signal, right? Now, since this is on the daily bars here, we only want to focus on the long signals here. So one more setting here. Let me just go switch this over to the long signals. And there we have it, right? So there is the pullbacks there, and the cross ups there. So there's our 5%. And I'm going to do this one more time to generate the 10%. And so I can just duplicate what I already have and pull this in here. And then let me go change the name. And I'm also going to go into the Invest Suite indicator. And so, again, I'm just using the default values here for all these correction levels, so I don't have to change anything, but I do need to go and select that negative 10% level plot. So I'll select that, and we're good to go there. And yeah, there we go. So let's see what this is going back to. Yeah, 2023 there, right? We had a little uncertainty. The market pulled back and then crossed up that 10% level there, and then crossed the 5%. All right, so I have two, very simple basic signals here to work with. So that, let's make sure we get that saved, close that out. And now I'm going to plug it into Blackbird so we can get some backtest results and see. So before getting into Blackbird, what I'm going to do here, let's see if I can find a good spot. Let's see, actually, put it on the 5% signal there. And let's see, where was it? Let's see, I think it was in here somewhere. Yeah, there's, we had a 5% pullback and then a 10% pullback there. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to generate an entry order on the 5% signal. and then place a resting limit order at the 10%. All right. So once we get that 5% signal, then if the market pulls back a little further to 10%, it'll pick up that cost averaging scaling in order there. And we'll get some backtest results on that.
And I love what I love that right there, what you were just saying too, because I'm pretty sure everyone here is very astute. And so the key word there being dollar cost averaging, this does give you the ability to do that. So yeah, just wanted to bring that to a little bit of a prioritization.
All right, so I'm pulling in, right, these bloodhound signals here. And again, our main entry is that first 5% pullback there, right? So I'm just going to go in with a market order on this one here. And the profit target, so I just quickly mentioned, right, we had these plus 5% and plus 10% targets here. All right, so I'm just going to go for the 5% target for now. So let's go in here. We're going to create a custom profit target, and we're going to load in the invest suite indicator here. So just go into the initial placement, and we're going to switch this over to an indicator. And now we can go and pull in the invest suite indicator. And just like what we did with Bloodhound here, again, if you're using custom levels there, right, you'll need to replace that. And then scroll down to the show correction levels historical, and we can stretch this open a little bit further. There we go. Now we can read the whole thing there. All right, so make sure that's enabled, and then also scroll down, to whatever plot that we want to take our target at. So those are the negatives. So there's the positive 5%. So let's select that. All right. And there we have it. So that's our first entry. And next, I'll create our cost averaging entry at the 10%. Let's see here. So I'm just going to copy A. And you can see that copies my profit target. So this profit target is at that 5% level as well. But I'm going to switch this market entry over to a limit entry. And now we need to set that initial placement there. So let's open this up. And again, we're going to switch this over to the indicator, right? So we can place this limit order at the invest suite's 10% pullback level there. All right, so there's our indicator already kind of preloaded there for us by Blackbird to save us a little time. And right, and again, it's always good, right? We want to double check our settings just to verify. And the show correction levels there is already enabled. And so now we need to find the correct plot. Right, so this is our entry order, so it's not going to be the 5%. We're going to scroll up to the negative 10%. There we go. All right, so there is our entry order there. Now, if we wanted this entry order to trail up, right, so as the market moves up, right, if our 10% trails up, then we can go in here into the trailing actions, and we can turn this all on and add a trailing rule here for our entry order. And then we just need to go into the action, and we're going to move that entry order to the indicator plot. So we're going to put this back on indicator value there and go find the indicator. There's our invest suite. Load that in. Again, I'm going to open this up a little bit here. Right, and once again, if you're using custom levels there, starting to sound like a broken record, but I think you guys are getting the point. And there we go. There's our historical levels. That's on. And now we can scroll down to the list of plots. And there's our negative 10%. So let's check that. There. And we want this trailing roll here to repeat indefinitely. So there we go, turn the repeat on. All right, so now this entry order will follow the negative 10% plot as it moves up there with the market. So, all right, and that's it. So there's our, and if we wanted to, we could even put in here negative 5% pullback. All right, so you can custom name these orders if we wanted to, like
It's all about
so.
bells and whistles, right?
That's right. Everybody loves customization there. So yeah, there we go. So there's our 5% pullback entry and our 10% pullback entry. All right, now let's save this here, and let's see here. All right. Yeah, I'll just keep it simple for now. There we go. All right, we got that saved out. And if anybody has already asked, this Bloodhound file and this Blackbird file, will have a copy of it. So when you do purchase the Invest Suite indicator, or you take it, take the trial, you can get a copy of the Bloodhound and Blackbird files there from Will as well. So, 'cause I know we always seem to get somebody asking for these files. Let's see here. All right, I think,
and that goes into the support too.
Yep.
If I mean, it's like I said, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I mean, I know this to be true. So if there will come a time, but if there's ever a time where you have questions or anything like that, template wise, we're happy to support the products in any way, for sure.
all right, so we just need to do a reload here so we can get some backtest results. And so now let's kind of scan through the chart here and take a look there. Now we do have, right, as we all know, right, we've had this big market pullback. So we did have an entry here there. And actually, in fact, hold on a moment. I'm going lickety split here, and I do need to make an adjustment here. So, yep, let me add a cancellation here. And
so here, and I of course don't ever want to, Zach, correct me if I'm wrong here, but basically what he's doing is he's saying that he only wants to take that 10% as an averaging into the position. In other words, if the 5% never gets filled, don't take the 10%. Now that could go both ways. Just remember, this is so robust that this comes down to your preference. If you wanted to say, if you miss the 5%, still take the 10%, well, he just did that.
mhm.
And now, you could also set it up the other way as well.
Yeah. All right, here we go. And so let's scroll back here and we'll kind of start from the beginning here. So let's see, my chart goes back to 2011. Yeah, 2011. So let's see, here's the 0%. So remember, the 0% is following, right, the market highs. So there's our 5% pullback, and bingo, right, we get in. And so right now, keep in mind, right, these levels are always moving up. So our targets are fixed. So wherever the 5% or the 10%, whichever one of these targets you want to go for, wherever it was on the day that you got into the market, right, that's where our target stays, right? So we can see, right, this target level correlates all the way back, right, to that entry signal there, right? So there's one, and here's another 5% pullback, right? And you'll notice, right, there are a bunch of entry signals as the market kind of bounced around, right? But Blackbird, has built in it has built in a limitation to not constantly get you into a signal once it's already has a trade open. That way you don't get into margin calls there, right? So with the first signal here, right, it got into a position and now it's ignoring these other entry signals here. So that way you don't put too many contracts on. So, and see, so our 5%, right, was up here at the time we got in. And if we follow this across, there's that target.
And just to add to what Zach just said there too, this is also, in my opinion, very important. So what's going to happen? He essentially he is simulating real world examples here, right? Because when we enter to a position today, I already can set my profit target accordingly. Like right now, if I enter to a position, what's my profit target? So I already know, and then that's just going to carry forward. So
Mhm.
just wanted to kind of notate that again. And also one very critical thing here, when we get to real time, when we're looking at the real time levels, if let's just say a crazy thing were to happen and you were to manually enter at each of those signals, just understand that the capabilities of the Invest Suite, we can have that update so that the margin call comes into play as well. So what's going to happen if, I would personally never want to do this, but if I were taking each one of those signals, I can have the margin call update for every added contract. And what you're going to end up with, what the end result of that would be, is you're going to cut it really close to getting a margin call. So again, not probably a very good idea on
Don't
that.
want to do that. No.
Don't want to do that.
No. All right. So here's an example of this scale in cost averaging position, right? So here's our 5%. We even named the entry orders there, so we know exactly what we're dealing with, right? And let's see, when was this again? 2015. Okay, yeah, we're going back to 2015 when there was, just kind of a lot of consolidation there. All right, as the market was just getting out of the housing crisis, disaster there. So there's our 5%, and we did, right, get that pullback finally to the 10% there. And then the markets were off to the races. And for both the 5% and the 10%, we can see that our 5% target level was still the same, right, as the market was consolidating there. So there we go. So we got out of both of those, right, like so. And then it was off to the races. Look at that. No pullbacks at all. And there we go. Now we got some pullbacks. And we also, look at that. There we go. We got another 10% pullback right there. Yeah. And there we go. Now we can see we got two different targets there. And that's because, let's see, at the 5% pullback, there our target was up here. But as we move forward in time, when we get to this 10%, because the market made new highs on this 10%, our 5% moved a little higher there. So as we go forward, there we go, right? So we got two different target levels there. So anyways, I think you guys see the point. So let's kind of take a look at the historical there, right? Because ultimately, as you're designing an investment plan for yourselves, right, this is what you want to be looking at here, or this is what you will be looking at, I should say, for sure, right? And so $250,000, not too bad, not too shabby.
Not too shabby. And what's important, I think, here to note, number one, of course, we're looking at hypotheticals. We want to run back through that. But
Yeah.
I think this is important to display because using this as an entire solution, let's say, right? So you combine the power of Bloodhound, you're getting your signals. Well, of course, with the combination of PFA Invest Suite, and then you combine the power of Blackbird. Now you have a full-blown automated solution. But what can you do with that? So what this allows you to do is harness these products in conjunction with the strategy, back testing results and so on. So you can spit out super amazing, analysis and statistics, because with the entirety of the solution here, it's not just about having a strategy or something like that. We need to do real test results, because hypothetically we may determine, look, I want to go test different values. I want to test 3%. I want to test 8%. I want to test 10%, and so on and so forth. Having this, though, to be able to come and look at those results is it's quite nice for sure.
Yeah. And yeah, and another, thing that we're trying to point out to you is how quickly and easily, right, you can run these tests yourself, right, to find something that's suitable, to you and your investing, right? Because one thing you're going to want to look at, right, is this pullback, right? So at this 10% entry, right, could your account, or just you as a person, could you have held through that? Would you have held through that, through this even further decline here, before the markets took off here, right? So that's what this is all about, is, showing you these on a chart so you can make those determinations for yourself, what you're comfortable with. So, and yeah, there's a couple more, another 5% and 10% entry there. Again, remember, these are conservative signals. They only occur after the pullback, right? So there we go. So we avoided this deep pullback and generated these conservative signals here. If we dive in a little closer, right, this is great to show you what the market can throw at you. So it did cross up above the 5%, all right, the negative 5%, and then it's pulled back again and gave us that, that second entry there before it was ready to go, and make new highs again. So
Absolutely. And that's kind of what we were talking about before. So imagine, this is where I was talking about before, the institutions and all of the, even pension fund, hedge funds, et cetera. They're using tools, that are able to keep them out of certain market conditions, right? So in a case like that, using the benefit of the way that Zach has it set up here can often stop that. In other words, you saw that entire downside. In a hypothetical sense, you could say, how did you perform during the '08 crash, or, the pandemic, et cetera? You to go through these situations, and oftentimes the market may have completely crashed, but yet we're sitting still with a flat account.
All right. Well, yeah. So there we are, and now here we are at the current day there.
Kind of like right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep. There we are right now.
Right now.
Yep. And some of the other things that Will taught me about this tool, right, is you can take these values and you can move them up and down. So let's say if you wanted to get in like today, right, you could put your base price right there, and then all these values automatically adjust. Or some of the other things, well, actually, we're basically sitting at the 5% right now, but let's say it was a little lower, right? You can grab any of these values and move them around and get that instant, the numbers, calculated there for you instantly. So, and then it's easy to reset everything back to the way they are there.
I love this. And if you, Zach, if you take, so for example, let's throw out a hypothetical right now in real time. So let's say, the market conditions are lovely, or, I exited way above, and I don't want to miss getting back into the market. I feel comfortable because we're still down, roughly 5% off the highs, et cetera. So let's just say from an investment portfolio, I want to go ahead and take a real-time position right now. So if you will, grab that base price and just pull it right now. All right, perfect. So I can say, all right, great. I'm going to submit my order at 59.20, but I need to plan everything right now. I don't want to wait. I can't do that. I need to plan this before this investment, if you will, before it ever happens. So right now, out of the gate, I could take and get so much information. For example, based on the account size, I can tell you that I wouldn't even remotely I would have a margin call way down. So if you scrunch up your chart vertically, yeah, there you go. So we would have an entire, 16.05% before I even come close to a margin call, right? And that's based on the number of contracts that we're trading, et cetera. It's calculating that. You can see that down there, the tradable lot size. Absolutely. So another thing about this, and honestly, in this case, it's ironic because we're almost there anyway. But if I've adjusted, and I said, look, I want to take a position right now at 59.20, and I just for information, food for thought, how much room is it back to the all-time high? So if you grab that extension of 5% and just drag it, yeah. So let's say that we weren't, right at 5%. I can drag that. I mean, this
Everything's
is
working out perfectly at 5%, 10%.
exactly. It goes to show the power of these percentage numbers, I'm telling you. But you can plan it. There you go. So you can really plan out the entire thing right here without, again, never, it's efficiency. So we never have to leave the chart. We can get any stats that we want right here, and I can have the entire plan in place.
Yeah, maybe we want to put a Fibonacci extension on here.
Oh, I love it. I told you all. Here we go. So Zach, by the way, I don't know if you're aware, but your new nickname is the King of Fun. That's in the chat, so it is official, my friend.
Well, I think that was Keith, but I'll take it.
Okay. Oh,
I'll
I
take
love
it.
it.
Let's
Okay,
see.
love it.
Yeah, so let's say if we wanted to put a first target at a 23% extension there. Actually, I think I drew this wrong, but anyways, you guys get the point, right? You can put your fib levels up there. Yeah, and then put these extensions here from the Invest Suite on there. Let's put it at the 50% there. And there we go. So you can see the actual percentages from the base price. So you can put this base price, yeah, wherever you want to, wherever it's applicable, in real time there, and then match up these extensions with your fib levels, on however you want to draw them. So yeah, cool. All right. Well, Will, shall I turn it back over to you?
Awesome.
And wrap it up, and then we'll get to some Q&A.
Yeah, and it's actually perfect timing too because Sam there had a really good question. So, do you want? I tell you what, Zach. Let me just do this. Here's what I'll do. I will. Let's move it over. I'll take the screen sharing and I'll move it over onto my screen.
Yep.
That way I can just go at all kind of questions, whatever people have. All right, let's go. Let's get this done. So we got my screen coming in here. Very good. Okay, let me know if you are all seeing.
Yep. We got your
Yeah.
charts.
All right, perfect. So Sam, just a moment ago, let me address this question because I like it. It's a very good question. And then I'll take any questions that you have, but I'm going to just open up this chart. Now, this is my workspace, folks. This is what y'all PFA members see day in and day out. It's what I use and so on. I just want to let you know, but I'm going to open up this single chart. If you have any questions about any of the other stuff, just let me know. I'll be happy to address that as well. But here we go. So let's look at these. And then let me go back and read this question so that everyone is able to know what in the world I'm even answering here. So Sam asked the question, if you hold overnight and the computer disconnects from either a power failure, etc., NinjaTrader does not allow you to connect on a new connection or it doesn't allow you to connect to in processing of trades. How does that impact your trade? It's a really good question. So this is a little bit more of I would say, when I say fundamental, I don't mean like the, balance sheets or anything. Okay. I just mean it's a bit more of a fundamental question. So the way that this works, let's say that right now, I go out and kind of what we were talking about before, right? So I can set myself up and I can bring this down. I can say, okay, maybe at current price right here, I'm willing to take a position at 59.08, right? So if I go in with a market order, that is of course going to be, instantaneously filled. It's going to, be submitted to the exchange. My order gets instantly filled. At that point, it really is irrelevant if NinjaTrader's open, closed, what have you. In fact, I, close mine all the time when I get these in place. Some of the things, a lot of things actually, I mean, I should notate this really fast. There is ample amounts of things that we have not discussed. Okay. So the power behind this, and I'll touch on some of them just so you know, but there's so much that this thing is capable of. Anything from, adding stops, adding trail stops, the 9 yards, right? So we can do all of that, but we just didn't want to complicate this too much. Okay. That's good. We're going to do some of those things in the or at least discuss them in the follow-up event. But let's go ahead and touch on a couple of, especially this question. Let's go further in that hypothetical. Let's say that I wanted to enter right now, okay, and I wanted to, in Zach's back testing and the hypotheticals that we walked through there. Let's just use that same kind of theory. All right. So I'm going to enter right now, and in this case, I'm not waiting, right? So I'm saying, no, I don't want to wait for 5%. Or, hey, look, let's even do this. By the way, he already mentioned, but I can right click it and simply reset. Oh, no, the market's closing, folks.
Markets are closed. That's
Market's
right.
closed. So what's great about this is the fact that it's almost sitting at the 5% anyway. So let's just say that I took this position because based on what Zach did, this is ultimately we would be getting, a signal right now as it is closed. Okay. And so what would happen there, I would set either a market order, limit order, whatever you desire. And then I would also have the value up here exactly 64.74 half. Okay. So that's going to be my target. If I go ahead and set those orders, and I won't go into too much with you. Suffice to say, we have a very robust capabilities. So I could just use my tool here, right? And I could set that order and I could drag my target, up here, and I could do all that fun stuff. And I could submit that order. So now I'm going to get filled, and my target is going to get instantly initiated on the exchange. And this is very, very, very important. Until the entry, excuse me, until the entry is filled, the way that it works is the exchange will not recognize your exit order, right? So what we're going to do is enter, but look, if I'm using a market order, it's instantly filled, thereby my target is going to be instantly executed as well. So in the case that that occurs, at such point, there is no impact. I can shut down NinjaTrader, restart it anytime I want. There is no impact to that because my trade is already planned out. And if we go back to what Zach was looking at a moment ago, so we kind of go back in time here, and I only have, let's see, I got like 365 days, but let's just use one we can see here, okay? So right here's a pretty good example. I can see that we would have gotten an entry, okay? We would have gotten an entry here, and we would have had a target set right here. So it would have ultimately looked like this. And let's go back and I tell you what, let me expand on the chart kind of exponentially here so that we can do this. I believe, which one was I just looking at? Yo, right here. Okay. So what I would be doing based on this entry right here is I would pull my entry down. Okay. Now, even in our software or what have you, of course, Blackbird could be handling this and that, provides the level of automation. But if I wanted to do it manually, I could just have it set there. And then what I would do is I would go grab that profit target, okay, and I would pull it to the 5% and so on. So what I've ultimately done is planned out my trade. So if I click submit, or if Blackbird's handling it, or if you just right click and use the chart trader order management, however that order gets submitted, you're going to be submitting the orders in real time. So this is kind of a real world example, right? I would have my entry. All right, well, technically it would be right here. So I would have my entry, I would have my target predetermined. Once this entry gets filled, thus does my target get submitted to the exchange. So at such point, my entire trade is complete. I can then go over here and just close down NinjaTrader, and that's irrelevant because the order is, the exchange is going to say, okay, well, Will, you placed an order here and you placed an order here. We recognize, we accept those orders. By the way, if you're using NinjaTrader terminology or essentially any exchange terminology, it went from a working state into an accepted state. Okay, working or pending into an accepted state. Once it is accepted, that means the exchange has now accepted your order and it is thereby resting on the exchange, not on your local machine. So here I take the entry, I get filled, my target is executed sitting on the exchange. I close down NinjaTrader, come back, a day later, 7 days, a week later, whatever it is. Or let's just say I go way in advance, right? So we entered that position in August. Let's say I don't even open my machine until December, right? Well, at such point, there would be no orders. Why? Because the target has already been reached. Okay. So you see that target there, it gets reached right here. The exchange, because they accepted that order, it would have executed your target. Now, I want to make some important notes here because a lot of fun here, a lot of food for thought. One thing to bear in mind, and we all are probably aware of this, but we are looking at a futures market. So as we know, the futures markets expire in the S&P, they expire quarterly. So that's one thing to be aware of, but that has nothing to do with the software or any of the above. It has to do with a general understanding of futures trading in general, right? So I know that at some point before the expiry occurs of said contract, in this case, we're looking at the June contract, but if I were looking hypothetically at a March contract, before the expiry of the March contract, I would need to simply roll that target into the front running contract. Okay. So again, once you roll it, it becomes canceled on the expired contract. It becomes active on the front running contract. So it's still sitting on the exchange. I can then go back out and close down NinjaTrader or anything else. And none of that is really, it becomes irrelevant at one point is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So great question. Really love that. And if you have anything to add, Zach, that's, absolutely. Or if there's any, questions, do let me know because I really like that one. I'm going to pause. Here's what I'm going to do because I've found that a lot of times as I'm explaining these things, people are trying to interpret what I'm saying, right? As I do when someone else is speaking. So I know this sounds silly, but I'm going to pause for like 5-10 seconds here and try to conceptualize that and give you the opportunity to think if you have another question, absolutely ask it. And then what I will do is just run through what I believe to be some fun hypotheticals.
Yeah, everything you said is correct, Will. As far as I understand it, yeah, about NinjaTrader and running strategies. So, right. Yeah. Edward has a question here. I'm not sure if you got to it. He was asking if there was a trial and or a monthly subscription for the indicator.
We haven't put out a current monthly subscription on this. We on our other products we have. So this, folks, I will tell you, this is something that it was one of those things to where I didn't even know that we were going to release it, to be honest with you, put it out to the public, just because, as I mentioned, this is, I use this exclusively. And but yeah, so pondering it, our goal has always been to help people to the best of our ability. That being said, we got to the point where I said, look, let's put it out there because I want everyone to be able to conceptualize investing in a different way. The fact of being able to automate things, all of this, and the capabilities of testing it. I mean, this is not just trading; it's investing. So yes, of course, we decided to launch it. Here we are today, right? But we've not really taken the time to set up monthly subscription or trial, etc. But, and I'm just being frank here, the product in itself is very inexpensive, and so I don't think you would even come into anything worry. But if it comes down to that and it's a concern or whatnot, we're always happy to help people. We can certainly set up something like that. And as I'm talking and answering that, let me get the link here. Hold on one second. That way you at least can see the details, There you go, folks. So that's a direct link where you can check out the Invest Suite. It has, you can check out the purchase links and all that. It'll give you the full details. But yeah, great question. Sorry about that, Edward. I didn't mean to miss your question. I don't know how I missed it. Maybe I didn't scroll or something. Did you see any others that I happened to miss that?
No, that was the only one there. And how about, I didn't see the link to tomorrow's presentation, tomorrow's Q&A or demonstration.
Absolutely. So here's what I'm going to do for that,
Yeah.
folks. Like I said, I'm going to post this in. Okay, here's the link. Now, let me be clear about this. What this link it's just a direct link to our YouTube channel. It has a confirmation appended on it. So what it's going to do when you navigate to it, there's going to be a pop-up asking if you want to subscribe to the channel. Obviously, it's free, guys. It's a YouTube channel, right? So you can, if you don't want to, you can say no. The benefit and the reason we're doing it this way, though, is because when you're subscribed, you can get the notification. So anytime we're doing our events, live streams, you'll be notified of it. And I do want to make note of that. We're actually doing currently, in fact, you can review today's. If you go onto our YouTube channel right now, you will see our trade from today that we initiated in our live room this morning. And we then went into the live stream and we kind of just followed that up. So I would encourage you maybe just go on there and check out today's. You'll get an idea, of how we do that. But tomorrow going to be a little different because we're going to be focused on this. But just suffice to say, we do have that ability. And if you want to join in on the daily streams, feel free. We'd love to have you. Thank you
Yeah,
for
so
that.
just to put it simply, tomorrow is not a webinar, it's a YouTube live stream.
You
Is that
bet.
correct?
Yeah, we try to
Okay.
do it that way because it kind of opens it up, makes it more casual, which of course,
Yeah.
again, this is why I love doing things with you guys because Zach and I joke around a lot. We kind of have some fun banter and whatnot, but we don't want to look at the end of the day, trade investing doesn't have to be such a boring thing, right? It doesn't have to be always so formal and this and that. We found that by doing the live streams, it does offer us the ability to be more casual. Now, here I'm going to apologize in advance, folks. I will be, as I said, I think I already did, but as I was saying before, I will be on video, like webcam and such. So, and you'll see those on my live streams as well. So don't let me, if you're scared about breaking your machine or anything like that, maybe don't come. But anyway, yeah, we'll make it fun. We'll make it fun.
I think all my monitors use plastic screens, no glass, so I'm not worried about them breaking.
Oh, nice. At least put you like some tempered, a tempered glass cover over there for those of you who might have glass. You'll be all
Yeah.
right.
And I take it when they're in the live stream that I don't think I've ever done a live stream with YouTube, surprisingly,
Yeah.
but you get feedback in the comments live as well, right? So people can ask you questions. Is that
Oh,
how that
absolutely.
works?
Yeah,
Yeah.
most
Okay.
definitely. So it's real time, real time, full blown chat and everything, public
Yep.
chat. Yeah. So you can do that. If you're subscribed, you can chat in there all you want to. And it'll be just like this, but you'll definitely have the real time
Yeah.
capabilities. Yeah. Pretty,
And
pretty
then
nice.
yeah, so Sam, since this is live streaming on YouTube, that's another benefit. Is YouTube, everything's recorded on YouTube. So yeah, there is a recording.
Yeah.
And I believe you can even join in like, 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late, and then play it on fast forward until you catch up to live. And then you'll be live. So it's another benefit of live streaming on YouTube.
Yeah, you know what? Thank you for that, Zach. I was not even aware of that, to be honest with you. So we're new. We're
Well,
pretty new to doing it too. I don't like spend a ton of time learning all of the ins and outs of it, but thus far, I will tell you that we've really enjoyed doing them,
yeah,
and I think it's been most advantageous. So what we tend to do is like we go through things. We're going in PFA. We're going through our community, our training and they have access to all of that. And then we'll, maybe discuss a trade like this morning, for example. We had a trade set up in our live room. Well, in the live stream, it affords us the ability to go in and follow through with that, right? Because some of our trades take a while to work out, so we kind of have that follow up, and then we recap everything we've done and talked about, and they're ongoing. So you get to see not just today, but tomorrow, the next day, and then you get to follow through with that. For example, I'll tell you, and as I'm saying this, a little trickle tear as I'm joking, but tearing up as we speak. So this low down here, folks, you'll see this. As a matter of fact, it was on one of our live streams. I pointed it out way back here. So in February, I believe it was either late February or it might have been early March, so somewhere up here. I pointed out at that time that I wanted to be the buyer. I had a very specific price of 48.16 quarter. Okay. So I was going to be the buyer at 48.16 quarter. Price, no joke, drops to, and again, price looked at that time, it looked something like this. We weren't, I mean, we were trading up in the 5800s and so on. And I'm not kidding you, folks, it dropped 16 points shy of getting my entry. It was horrific. It was terrible. But that's okay because we were able to, reconvene with the market and get back involved. But anyway, it was a little thing there. But you'll see all of that in our live streams. We always talk about 100% of things in advance. It's never lagging or whatnot. So
Here's a good question. Well, Aaron is asking, can it be used on a portfolio? And the second question is, does it work headless mode on NinjaTrader? So I'm not sure what headless mode is. Mode.
yeah,
I think maybe in the market analyzer would be headless mode.
Okay, so if that's the case, NinjaTrader should recognize everything. What because we did this intentionally. Part of the reason, and I would say the predominant reason, was so that Bloodhound, Blackbird, we expose all of this information to them. Okay, so that you saw as he was showing, you could see the dynamic levels being created, they can be adapted, and so on, and then pick up on those changes. And we designed it that way specifically for that purpose, as well as NinjaTrader. That gives you the ability to use that strategy analyzer, or excuse me, the market analyzer, the strategy performance, trade performance, I think they call it, all of those bells and whistles that they provide. We have done our best to be compatible with with all of them. So yeah, you can definitely use it with the NinjaTrader features. And as far as
Yeah.
the portfolio goes, so maybe you want to provide a little bit more specificity in your question, if you don't mind. I will generalize it. The answer I would say is absolutely. It can be applicable to, all markets, so long as you have the data, of course. I would go so far as to say, though, the purpose in it is so that we can build a portfolio, right? Ultimately, I may be interested in Apple or Tesla or the S&P futures or the NASDAQ futures or whatever it is, but this is giving me the ability to provide the context that I need because I may not want to touch Apple with a 10-foot pole. I may love it. I mean, at the end of the day, I need these analytics to tell me what I want to do inside of my portfolio. So hopefully that helps. Okay, you're going further. You said I have a basket of stocks. I was thinking of running this and having it optimize the settings. Yeah, there you go. So you've kind of come into I love what you're saying here because Aaron, you're hitting the nail on the head. When you combine the power of Bloodhound, Blackbird with the PFA Invest suite, you can do exactly that. You can take your basket of stocks, okay? And again, it doesn't have to be stocks, right? It could be, futures or whatever. But you can take that basket of stocks and then you can start seeing what the best outcomes are based on that. You may find and let's take a look here. Like I said, we're on my chart, so I can do, and I won't take too much time. I don't want to, we do have the follow up, and I know Zach and Keith, everybody's time is very precious. But I'll show you this real quick if that's okay. Zach, do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
mind?
Go right ahead.
Okay, perfect. So let's do this. What I'm going to do is step over to something like Tesla. Okay. So Tesla, I mean, just look at this thing. Let's bring our attention over here. Tesla, I need this analytic. I need to see how this market functions. And I can tell you that based on Tesla right now, we have declined 56.14% from the high. That's a lot, folks. Okay. But I can do that ongoing. And one of the other cool things is I can go back and check historically as well. So we can use the data box. And if you notice over here, as far, this goes into the compatibility factors as well. If you look in these plot values, notice them changing, right? Okay. So what that gives me the ability to do is go back here and at any given time, you watch this lowest price right here. So, okay, watch that number. All right. So at this time, obviously we hadn't dropped that far, but let's go way over here. Uh-oh, look at that. So at this time on this bar, wherever my mouse is, the lowest low right there was a whopping 61.68%. So now I can test all of this, but I can get a general idea of what does Tesla trade like in comparison to the S&P. Well, I can definitively say it is exponentially more volatile. So I want to go in and now use Bloodhound, Blackbird, PFA Invest Suite, and I want to test that with the now knowledge that I have, knowing that it's much more volatile, right? So all of that information can be computed. And right here, you'll see noun values. The reason that you're seeing those is simply because I have it toggled off. If I toggled on the historicals, you would see those printed values as well. And if I go into the indicator, that is literally one click of the mouse, okay? So if I scroll down a bit, where are you at here? There it is. So I can show the plot values in the data box, but then what values do I want to see? You see right here, I have them toggled off. Oh, excuse me, that's the margin call. But I can go up here into my corrections and I can toggle this on. Now I want to see all those historical calculations as well, which, as I said, will then populate them historically. You can see it in the data box and you can get all of the information that you need. So yeah, that's a wonderful, I love that question. And it really goes to show how you can build portfolios because all of these markets are going to function very different, right? If you go into Apple, for example, look at Apple. We've traded down. Matter of fact, right now, let's look at some real values, folks. Love this, okay? So year to date, we're down 15% on Apple. Current price, we're trading down 18.6 from the highs. Okay, so our base price is $260.10. Current price, as I said, we have a lowest low, though, of 34.94%. We talked about this in our live streams. Again, we talk about all kind of stuff like this. But matter of fact, I had I think it was a member, it could have just been public, but so someone asked me, about this, and I'm not a licensed professional, so I can't make recommendations or anything to that extent, nor would I, because we want to be rule followers, right? But ultimately, we look at this and I can absolutely share my thoughts and my opinion. And it's number one, it's Apple. Okay. Apple was trading down below 30%. When I think of things like that, I think of I want to buy a TV today. How do I do that? Well, I wait for Best Buy or whomever to send me the email that says, hey, for the next 48 hours, you get 20% off. Well, there you go. So I instantly want to go buy that TV today, but we don't treat equities and future. We don't treat investing this way, especially, well, maybe investing, but not so much trading. We think of Apple being down 30% and the bottom is falling out. I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. But that's what we're trying to change here. We want to give you the ability to test all these theories, right? So that instead of being afraid of corrections, maybe we get excited about them. They turn into the discount email, if you will. Yeah, so hopefully that helps.
Excellent.
Does your community use prop firms? Also, is there a special for SI community? I must have missed you on Shark Week. No worries. Yeah, well, we've all been very busy. I have been on Shark Week. Again, love doing anything and everything with these guys. But at the end of the day, we all get so busy and think, for example, how many hundreds of hours have gone into this development alone. So we just got busy and weren't able to do it. Having said that, yes, I believe to all of the questions. So matter of fact, do this. Go review today's live stream on our YouTube channel. You'll see that we're using a prop funding account, right? There you go. So yeah, we do. You'll see all that stuff. Is there a special for shark indicators? Yeah. So we're going to talk more about this and we can address this a little bit tomorrow as well. But yes, we can effectively bundle our products to make sure that you guys are getting the best discounted rate. Absolutely. And I guess let me touch on that because I think to me it's a little bit humorous. I'm sitting here talking about the market corrections, right? And in correlation with that, I'm using an analogy of Best Buy emailing me a discount. In the same token, in the same breath, I'm getting a question about a discount, okay? So I love this because this is what we're trying to get our minds to gravitate to and be able to test all of these series, like I said. But I just love how all of this works. And if we can tweak our thought process from being afraid of it to being excited about it, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, if I would have known that, okay, if I would have known that 2 decades ago, it would be, let's just say today would be a little bit of a different picture. So anyway, all joking aside, I like to have fun with that. But did I miss any more questions, Zach, you think?
Just another repeat here. So Edward was asking about the Bloodhound, and probably the Blackbird file. So yeah, will have copies of the Bloodhound and the Blackbird file for you. So yeah, so when you get the indicator from Will, yeah, he can email you those files as well.
Yep, I'll be happy to do that, no doubt about it. Get you that. And as I mentioned now multiple times, I think you can see how passionate about this we are. But if you need support, we will support you. At the end of the day, we're not building strategies, okay, for you. At the end of the day, I'm sorry to be redundant with that. Uh, we believe in the power of knowledge. We believe in the power of hard work. So if you have a basket of, I'm not saying you individually, if anyone has a basket of equities, let's say, I don't think it would be fair to ask us to do that for you, right? But what if hypothetically you went to a hedge fund and you said, hey, hedge fund, I want you to give me your strategy, right? So I don't think they're going to be very happy about that. But what they are going to say is, why don't you just give me your money? I'll do it for you. That's how hedge funds are going to work. But what if that hedge fund was to say, absolutely not. But I tell you what, for like $100,000, for some whopping value, I will provide you access to the tools that we use. Okay, so I like to think of it that way. We're trying to put Wall Street capabilities on your chart, but at the end of the day, there's some legwork involved. You're going to have to go test your own percentage values, and I think we can play around with that tomorrow and have some fun. We will support you in all of it. We're just not going to, completely build the strategies. I don't think that would be a fair ask. But yeah, absolutely, support is always there. Let's see.
Aaron, yeah, Aaron has another question here about linking this to another indicator for harmonic levels. So, I'm not sure exactly what he's meaning, but
Yeah,
what?
let me address it in a way that you might be asking. With the power of our combined, this is again why we're trying to show you all a complete solution, right? So with the power of Bloodhound and Blackbird in correlation with this, Zach, correct me if I'm wrong here, you might be able to pull in another indicator on top of it. Is that a fair?
Yeah, that's where I was assuming Aaron was asking, like maybe you want to feed the stochastics or the momentum indicator into this, and then this invest suite would show you the different correction levels and target levels for a momentum indicator or something like that,
Yep.
or a cyclical indicator.
And that just basically sets it up to where the world is your oyster, right? If you can think it up, have some fun. I love it. Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate that. That's so nice of you to say. I really do appreciate your comment there. We'll assume I use, okay, Will, I think you're saying me. Will assume I use Blackbird to do the entry. Not sure on exit, may need Zach. So anything you need support related with the PFA Invest Suite, no worries. We got you covered, okay? In regards to Blackbird and Bloodhound, of course, yes, we would, I would not be able to provide the profound experience and knowledge in their products like they would. But if you come to, just like we're doing right now, if you come to a situation and you find that it's not just one or the other, you may need support from both of us. Zach and Key, all the guys, Jeremy, everyone, we all have fantastic relationships. We're happy, to work together if there becomes a situation like that. It's doubtful. I mean, you probably are not going to need it, but if you do, just know that we'll support you. Yeah. To add, I use fib levels, perhaps confluence with the PFA at times. Wonderful, Edward. Wonderful. Yes, indeed. Because again, remember, check this out real quick. So if I go in here, what I could do is I could simply go down here and let's say that I'm a fib trader. All right. So I could go back here and this is where we become dynamic, right? Remember, we can set as many or as few in here as we want to. So I'm going to say comma 38.2. And now what I'm doing is I'm putting a common Fibonacci ratio in my corrections. Of course, here it's a positive, so I need to give it a negative because I want it to be a correction, not an extension. But I could also go and append a 38 point, not a 378, a 38.2 here. Now I have a 38.2 extension as well. So yeah, if you're like if you're a fib trader, oh, I grabbed my level. Let me reset that. Yeah, if you're a fib trader, you can input those values. You can use it in correlation, with everything like that. Yeah, very good. How would you apply to XABC pattern? I guess. Well, you're talking about something that you're talking about methodology, right? A little bit more so, Aaron. And that's something we can dive into. That our community, that's where we train on methodology and just everything to do with that. That's not really software related per se. Having said that, if you had an indicator that is compatible with Bloodhound and Blackbird, like we were talking about a moment ago, you could overlay the two, okay, and you could get the values, from both, and just execute in accordance with whatever you wanted. Like if you wanted to combine those two together, you could do that and spit out signals accordingly. But there you go. So that's something Zach would maybe want to address. Okay. Yeah, Edward, we do have a live membership. Absolutely. Give me just 1 second. I'll get you the details on that. Should be here. There you go. That'll give you the details on our community and kind of what it offers, things like that. But yeah, we do that. Like I said, that's where we're going to do extensive training on the markets and just trading and investing in and of itself. No software, right? We don't even need software to understand the markets. But the software takes us, it would be like any other company, we could use a flip phone for sure, or I could put the world in my pocket with an iPhone. I mean, it just, you get the idea, right? Absolutely. All right. And yeah, Edward, and I'll tell you what, I don't want to take too much time away from the guys at Shark here. Any questions, shoot an email to us, contact us through the website, anything like that, or tomorrow in the live stream. Any questions about the community or PFA in general outside of this software that we've discussed today, let me know. I got you covered. Like I said, don't worry. Any questions, I'll be happy to address them. I just don't want to take too much time away from Zach and Keith here for PFA related, questions. If you don't mind, if that's okay, I appreciate your understanding. But do get those questions to me, and we'll take care of you, very prompt too.
All right. Well, kind of feels like we're winding down here.
There we go.
So good. Yeah. So again, think up some more questions, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. Sam, yeah, let me post in that link real quick. Here's a link I think you're asking. That's to the Invest Suite. And then if you're looking for the homepage, you'll see up at the top, just click home. Or if you're looking for, just surf around, you'll see the different offerings, everything. Thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate your time and efforts. Even though Zach got to be the fun one today, I'll try my best to be fun tomorrow. But yeah, look, folks, have a blessed rest of your day, everyone, and we appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
And congrats, Will.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye for now.
Bye-bye, everybody.